The last couple of weeks, I've been thinking really hard about adding another horse to my little herd. I kind of had my heart set on getting a Mustang, but after the last internet adoption, it seems like there might be a different horse out there that needs my help a little bit more.
Stewie.
There is one more auction for the year out here in Montana, and today I'm going to head out and see what I can find in the loose pen. The sale that I'm heading to today is where I bought Pete. I also got Little Gus there.
Tiny! What you doing, girl?
I had a few extra chores to do, but once I was finished with those, it was time to head out. I typically don't go to the sale barn this time of year. The weather is just not nice enough for me to travel with the horse trailer. I got to the auction yard and sifted through over 400 horses. I wanted to make sure I made the right decision, so I did stay overnight and got up super early to check out the horses again. I had about half a dozen horses on my list, but I just could not get this one out of my head. There were a few horses on my list that went for a couple $1,000s. 3 of the horses I picked out did have significant medical conditions, but they were completely unhandled. At the end of the day, I decided that this girl was the perfect one for me to take a chance on and bring home. She looked to be about a body score 2 or 2.5, which is very skinny. She also had a suspiciously large abdomen, which may be another horse, and it may be part of some disease process that I'll find out about later.
You starving, girl? You need some good snacks, girl? Here.
Given how weak she was when she got on the trailer, I decided to stop and make her a little mash while I ate lunch. This girl is definitely at risk for refeeding syndrome, and I do believe she is about 20 years old at least. After a few bites of mash, she decided that the hay was a little bit more enticing for her. It's only about 2.5 hours from the sale barn to my house, but I did let her stop and rest a few times along the way. When I finally make it home with a horse as weak as this one, it is definitely a relief. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a close-up of what her body condition is like. Pretty much all of the muscles in her back and along her top line are gone, so her spine is exposed. In addition to her hip bones, all of her ribs are showing. She actually looks a little bit better than she probably is because she does have quite a thick winter coat right now. One of the really nice things about the sale I get these horses from is I know exactly how much they weigh, and for as skinny as she is, this girl is pretty heavy. She weighed a little bit over 1,100 pounds. I'm guessing she probably should be closer to 1,300 in a normal weight. This horse sold great at the horse sale, but after only about 10 minutes on the internet, I was able to find out pretty much everything about this horse.
Tiny? What do you think, girl? Like the new pony? Girl, Tiny?
This mare sold without any papers at the sale, but she is a registered quarter horse that was born in 1998, making her 26 years old. This will make her refeeding process a lot harder.
Stewie! Hi, Stewie!
It is very tricky business refeeding a
Hey,
starved
Mama.
horse. Given this girl's muscle mass, I
Oh,
do
you
think she
old
was
girl.
getting fed, but probably not appropriately for her
You
age
okay?
and the fact that she definitely had a baby pulled off of her very recently. The next morning, I was really excited to see that she was insulating properly with her winter coat, even though she does not have any body fat on her. I know there's going to be a few questions about why I decided to leave her out in my round pen instead of bringing her into the barn. There were a number of sick horses at the sale that I saw, so it's really important that she's as isolated as possible from the other horses.
Hey, little girl. Holy cow, Mama.
I was really surprised to see that she has been able to eat normal hay quite easily. Typically, when I see a horse at the sale that is this skinny, they usually have some serious
Hey,
dental
girl.
problems that make them get
Hey,
that way.
Mama.
This horse has a really good appetite, and it is going to be extremely hard for me not to just shovel her full of hay, but I need to be very strict about how many calories I'm
Hey,
giving
girl.
her and the amount of food she gets to eat at one feeding.
Hey, little girl. All right.
You guys know how much I love poop, and I was really excited to see that she was producing some normal turds. As I was coming home from the horse sale with this girl, I was trying to decide the best place to put her. While I would have loved to put her inside the barn, she is a really big mare. I think she's almost 16 hands. I was worried with how weak she was that if she laid down in a stall, I would not be able to get her up. This mare has also been used to living outside. She's been a brood mare in a large herd setting for the last 12 years. All of my horses on the property are vaccinated, and there's a good chance that she also has some immunity from past vaccinations. It is extremely common for a horse that comes from a sale like this to have certain respiratory problems. While I would have loved to put this girl behind my house at a totally different property, I decided I would like to keep a much closer eye on her over here at the barn. To help prevent the spread of disease when I handle the new horse, I change my clothes completely. I have a different set of coveralls and a different puffy that I put on. This set of clothes is completely clean. I haven't handled her yet, so I'm in the main barn right now getting switched out. For the next 2 weeks or so, I am going to do this little song and dance of changing my clothes every time I go and handle her. I will also be spending a little bit less time with all of the other horses just to make sure I don't accidentally get them sick. Most new horses I get in, I prefer to feed them a mash so I can be more accurate with the amount of food that they're getting. After trying a few
Hey, little
times and
girl.
failing miserably, it
Let's
seems
go
like this girl just loves
over
regular
here,
hay.
Mama.
Because she has shown no signs of trouble eating this hay, this is what I'm going to be using for the refeeding process. In addition to changing all my clothes, I also have a special pair of boots that I wear around these new horses. Getting a horse like this in the wintertime does present a little bit more of a challenge for me. In the summertime, I do place a little foot bath outside the new horse's pen just so I can disinfect everything multiple times. Since it is below freezing overnight right now, that is just out of the question. For now, I'm just going to have to wash them off after I'm done every day and use some chlorhexidine to try and disinfect them the best I can. Currently, this horse has been home with me less than 24 hours. It is really nice to see that she's producing normal manure, and I was really excited to see that she drank about 3/4 of this bucket. Even though she does have a perfectly fine winter coat, because her body condition is so poor, she will need a blanket. Every bit of energy that she's consuming from the feed, I want her to be able to pack on as new muscle mass. So, the help of the blanket to keep her warm is gonna just let her recover a lot more quickly. After I measure her for a blanket, I am checking her over for lice and kind of doing a little bit of a closer inspection of everything. Unfortunately, I did find a few melanomas underneath her tail head, which I was kind of expecting since she is a gray horse and she is quite old. The melanomas that I found on her are quite a bit larger than the ones that Ziggy has. I was honestly really surprised she drank so much water overnight, so I had to go back and check her tank just to make sure it didn't have any holes. One of the reasons I do like to feed a mash is so these horses can stay properly hydrated. A lot of times they do not want to drink. The fact that this horse is consuming a normal amount of water so close to when I brought her home is a really good sign. I know a lot of you guys are going to be upset with this horse's previous owner for dropping her off at the sale. While I am upset that I did see her at the sale, I'm glad that I was able to help her, and I'm going to focus all of my energy going forward to helping her get better. Another thing that I was really surprised and happy to see was how great she has been eating just regular hay. The straight alfalfa that I get is the perfect forage for her to be eating throughout the refeeding process. There's a very strong possibility that all she's ever had access to is pasture. As I settle into my new routine of handling the new horse, I am pretty optimistic about her future. I really struggled a few hours before the sale trying to decide if she would be a good horse for me to bring home. Before I put everything on YouTube, I would not even question it. I would just bring her home and see how she does. The thought had crossed my mind that it would be hard to understand why I would buy a horse that has a pretty slim chance of recovering from her current state. The first 2 weeks of refeeding a horse like this can be extremely challenging, and there's a good possibility that she may get worse before she gets better. When a horse is in a starved state, whether it's
Hey,
on
boys.
purpose or accidental, there is a whole lot of physiological changes that happen. Without excess body fat to use for energy, these horses typically start to break down essential organs that are made from muscle. As they start to get proper nutrition, there are a lot of metabolic pathways that can go awry if you don't feed them exactly right. I always follow the protocol that UC Davis puts out, and I will link that in the description below, but I'm probably going to do a whole entire video on that because it is very important. Most of the time when I get a horse like this, I am happy to just let them hang out for a few days, but this girl is going to need a little bit of
girl.
extra
Hey,
care.
Mama. Hey, Mama. Hello, girl.
This mare is incredibly sweet, and it's such a shame that she was dropped off at the sale. I paid $400 for her, which equates to about 35 cents a pound. The only other person bidding on this horse was a kill buyer that has a lot in Colorado. A horse of her age in her condition would have a really hard time surviving the trip and then any amount of time on a lot like that. The more I get to know this girl, the more sad I get that she ever ended up at the auction. She seems to be an extremely kind horse that I know was loved at one point in her life.
Hey, boys.
It is shaping up to be a pretty nice day, and I do want to get this girl cleaned up a little bit more before I put her new blankets on. I feel pretty confident that she'll be comfortable until this evening when I have some time to wash all of the nasty goo off her legs from the horse sale. I am gonna just pop home for some lunch and then I'll come back and work with the regular horses. And then when I'm all done for the day, I will finally come back and
Hey, little
spend some
girl.
more quality time with this girl.
Want a snack? Let's see. Eat it. Get you another snack, girl.
After I slip another little alfalfa snack into her round pen, I get to handling some of the other horses. I have all of my regular chores to do. I get Scarlet and Ziggy turned out in the small arena. It is a little bit early for their dinner, but I don't want to have to touch any of the other horses after I touch the new girl, so they're getting their dinner a little bit early today.
Come on, Jake. Hey, girl. Hey.
After only
Hey,
about
come on.
24 hours here, she
Okay,
is
hold on, girl.
definitely starting to get a bit of the twinkle back into her eye. I do want to get her all cleaned up so I can get her blankets on her later this evening. One of the reasons I just could not get this girl out of my head at the horse sale was she was extremely friendly even though she was very tired. She followed me all around the pen when I was looking at other horses, even if that meant she got bit by horses she didn't know. There were a bunch of horses on my list that were much younger and in better shape but completely unhandled. While I definitely have the skill set to handle those kinds of horses, it is a little bit nice to have one like this that just follows you around and wants to spend time with you. All of this stuff covering her legs and her belly is a mixture of horse and cow poop, which is extremely hard to get off. I also don't have heated water, but the stuff coming out of the ground is actually warmer than it is outside. This girl didn't seem to mind one bit and seemed happy to get all of the crud from the horse sale off of her finally. This girl is getting a fleece liner and then a heavy duty blanket to keep the elements off of her if it does snow again. I'm hopeful that this will keep her more comfortable and also prevent her from losing any calories because she's cold. When I finally went to head out for the evening, I could tell it was going to be the coldest night yet. As the sun went down, the temperature dropped a ton, and the little bits of moisture that were in the air froze and turned into this crazy fog. Thankfully, the new girl is snuggled up in her new blankets and she's happily munching on her dinner meal. The refeeding process is a lot easier to do in summer because there is a ton more light out. In order to give her the best shot at a normal recovery, I will be back later on in the evening to give her 2 more meals. This is kind of time consuming but completely necessary given the state she's in. The first few days of refeeding a horse like this can be extremely stressful. I, knock on wood, have never lost a horse to refeeding syndrome, even though I do tend to take in older, very emaciated horses from time to time. Ideally, for the first 3 days, you want to be feeding them every 4 hours, so 6 times a day. That means in addition to staying up pretty late, I do get up relatively early to give this girl her meals. I've already fed her once this morning and I am back to give her her second breakfast.
Hey, Mama.
By day 4, I'll be feeling a lot better about this girl's prognosis, and after 10 days, I'll be able to sleep a little bit easier knowing we're out of the hardest part of her refeeding. I thought really hard whether or not I would even share this horse with you guys. There are a lot of things that have to go right in order for her to have a good recovery, and at this point, I'm not really sure what her future looks like. I've already had a few conversations with my vet about her, and tomorrow she will be out to give her an exam and check to see if she is in foal. Today I am really thankful that she seems to be doing well, and I'm also pretty thankful for you guys. Having so many people out there rooting for this girl certainly makes a difference. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.